So this is my media opening sequence reflection video. My shoot was called Iris, which we decided the name in the editing process. It's been a few weeks since our final edit, but I thought I'd just make a video just wrapping up how the actual day of shooting went, and then I'll do a separate post for how the editing was. We first had a briefing from our sort of film supervisor, Matt, and basically we needed to round off the story because we had our story, but honestly we knew that it needed to be more action-packed, more interesting, because currently what we were working with was a little bit loose, a little bit messy. So we just rounded it off and we decided to change it slightly so that it's now the boy's mission to kill the girl, but the girl knows, so obviously she'll want to kill them back. So just rounding off that story, it really just made it so that we would be able to run smoothly when it actually comes to the story, when we're filming, and it also means that we don't have to film chronologically to try and make the story make sense. So when we got to the location, we used our Blackmagic cameras, we set it up as we had learnt in class, and then Matt helped us set up the lighting. And what we did is, since the basement which we were filming in is set up into two sections, the set where we were going to be building our main sort of filming set, and there was also the other area. So what we decided to do was put the lighting in that area so we could create really nice shadows going through. So when they run in or when they move, we could get these really nice shadows on the back wall, which ended up working really well, and we're really happy that we did that. In terms of the set itself, I provided most of the set items, just for convenience really. It saved other people trying to source things, because I knew that I would be able to source some of the items, such as the cardboard boxes. My mum works for a charity and my dad gets a lot of deliveries to his work, so we used a lot of boxes there, and also lots of boxes from local shops, and they were all flat packed, so we used some masking tape to tape them up and pop them open, which made it really easy to pack away, since masking tape can just be easily ripped and just flat packed again. Also rag bags, well, we call them rag bags, but it was just lots of bags of clothes that the charity shop hadn't sold yet. So what we did is we spread those across the boxes to make the boxes look full of clothes. Sometimes we would put boxes inside of boxes to make them look more full. And we also put some on the floor as well, just to make it look a bit dingy, make it look, you know, abandoned, basically. Kamani, she takes the train, so she went to the train station, picked up a load of the free newspapers. So we ripped those up, put them on the floor, messed them about, put them in boxes, put them with the clothes, and it just gave it an overall, like, more boxy kind of look, I suppose. It just made it look more abandoned, more kind of basement-like, I suppose, rather than just boxes full of clothes. We also had dust sheets. And the reason why we wanted the dust sheets is, again, it gives that idea of abandoned, maybe slightly older kind of look, but it also covers up items that we don't necessarily want to be seen in the shoot. So for example, there was a stereo system on the wall that we didn't really want there. I know that some people in their shoots, when they shot in the same place, they wanted that there. We didn't, so we covered that up with a dust sheet, and it actually looked really good. It looked really purposeful, and it actually gave, because all the boxes were kind of on the ground, there wasn't really much leveling, so by covering up the stereo we had more levels to our piece rather than it just being sort of down low, and it made the set look really, really good. And we also used dust sheets on a big table football that was also in the room that we didn't want to move, probably wouldn't be able to move anyway. But actually, we ended up using it later on in the shoot, which I'll explain later. But luckily, we had a dust sheet big enough that it would totally cover it, and it gave two separate areas that we could film in, and it just made it very adaptable. We could do a lot with it. We decided in the end not to go with the GoPro because we found that it made no sense for the new story, since she wouldn't be referring to some sort of ominous person on the other side of the camera. So we decided that, you know, just it wouldn't work, which I suppose is a slight shame, because it would have been a really effective kind of shot. But I agree in the sense that it would have made no sense. The audience would have been confused. I would have been confused. So I think it was the best choice for us. The most difficult scene to shot, honestly, was the beginning. Having them run in, then move to the next position after they got to their place. Because we did the wide shot of them running in, and that was sort of one of the main ones that it was the main one that we used for them running in. But then it was the next shots where we had them in their positions. So, for example, James was sort of to the left, Borders was in the middle, Kendra was to the right. So we sort of did, mid, close of each of them. But it was getting them running into that position that was most difficult, because we had to have the camera in the exact position where they would end up. So it was a bit of a collaborative sort of work between us as the crew and them as the actors, because they had to make sure they were in the right place, and we had to make sure that if they weren't in the right place, we could quickly adapt it so that we could get the shot. But it also meant that we got a lot of shots of just legs running, because we would have it in a close position, especially for James's shots, because he was in the position right where they run through. So we got a lot of shots of legs and then having to adapt the camera afterwards. But it worked well, and we ended up getting the shots. And they looked really good. And then after that, we let Kendra kind of have a bit of a break, because we knew that we wouldn't be shooting her scenes until later, or her shots until later. So then we did a wide mid-close of each boy, like looking through the boxes, looking at where Kendra would be. And at this point, I was operating the camera, and during this time, I learned how to chase the actors' movements, which seemed so difficult, and I suppose it was difficult in a sense, but once you got, a sense of the technique and how to do it, it was much easier than I suppose it seems. But yeah, and it was really useful, and they ended up being some of my favourite shots, just seeing the movements of them, following them. It worked. It really did work very well. So I was very, very happy about that, and I learned a new technique, so that's good, and hopefully I'll be able to use that in filmmaking to come. One of the issues that we had sort of throughout the whole kind of process was continuity. We knew that we wanted to make this, seem real, and we just wanted everything to look the same throughout, because continuity is very important. So what we did is we had to keep on fixing the set. So for example, bodies falling, or them looking through boxes, things may fall, things got moved, and in editing it would have just been a nightmare for us if things weren't fixed. So we had to keep on fixing the set, and it ended up working really well in terms of we had a process of we'd shoot it, we'd check. At one point we even checked in comparison to a photo that we had taken of the set prior to check specific positions of newspapers. So I'm very grateful for the fact that we took that picture at the beginning of the process, because it did make everything so much easier. One difficult thing that we had was when Borders dies. At first we tried him falling straight backwards into boxes, but we found that this was a bit of a health and safety issue, because he's falling straight backwards and the floor was brick. So if he wasn't falling back onto clothes or cardboard box, which would have hurt enough, he was falling back straight onto brick. So we decided just to have him fall down and cut to something else. But luckily Borders managed to, adapt to this. He knew how he could sort of make it look like he was falling, but like not falling straight backwards, which is brilliant. So yeah, that was a fairly difficult thing to shoot, but we managed to get it. Another shot that we did was of James hiding behind the boxes, hiding from sort of Kendra's gunshots. We weren't originally planning on using this shot, but I'm really glad that we did, because it worked so well. And it turned out really good in terms of, in the editing process, we were able to put light flashes, so we get the sense that Kendra's shooting, even though he can't hear anything, he can't see when she's going to be shooting, because it's not happening when we're filming. So yeah, he did a really good job in reacting to it, and we ended up getting really, really cool shots that seem very real. And then when we got to Kendra's scenes, we let the boys go and have a break, and then we got to Kendra's scenes where we decided, we knew that we wanted her to walk off and find the gun somewhere. So the convenience of the football table, originally we were just cover it up, don't get it in shot, move it aside. But then we ended up using it in the fact that we knew that it could be a place where the gun could be hidden. So I ended up getting a really cool shot where the camera, we put it in the table football so we could see her hand grabbing the gun, and that is one of my favourite shots in the entire thing, just because it looks so cool, and we get to use the table football in sort of another way, which it is so creative, and it adds something a little bit extra than her just randomly finding the gun. One of the big issues we had in shooting Kendra's scenes was the gun, because it was a pretend gun. Obviously, we couldn't use a real one. And it only made a noise when you did the full process of, pulling it back, pulling the trigger, which was so inconvenient in the fact that we wanted fairly quick gunshots, just sort of to make it more sense, to add more anticipation, add more danger, add more action to it. So Kendra did a really good job in the sense that she had to pretend that the gun was going off, knowing when to pull the trigger, when she was doing the dry fire. She had to know when that was happening. So she did a really good job with that, and it ended up looking really cool when we added the gunshots in the edit. Something which I think we could improve on is something key which we forgot on the actual shoot day that we didn't realise until we got into the edit suite, and that is we didn't get just a room tone, which would have saved us a lot of worrying and a lot of time in the edit suite trying to find a few seconds of room shot kind of within everything else. But yeah, it's the room tone that we really needed, and I think we were just so excited to just get in and start shooting after we built the set that it was just something we completely forgot, which, it was a mistake on our part, but we knew that it was something that we could get around and edit. That it was just unfortunate that we didn't realise it until the edit. Even if we'd only realised it at the very end of the shoot, we still could have done a room tone. But doesn't matter, we managed to work our way around it. Went well, other than that. So yeah, overall, I think it was a really, really good day. It was very successful. Everything ran smoothly. It felt like it was over in an hour, but I'm sure it was a few hours. I can't really quite remember how long it was. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot from it, not just about sort of the camera itself, but about the whole process, how to work with different actors. And yeah, I just think it was a very successful shoot. And hope you enjoyed the edit.